Hello. Welcome to our Zyxel Certified Network Associate Program for Security. In this program, we offer a range of topics covering the basic security technologies and network management tools to help you understand how to properly deploy your firewall in the network. Let's start by taking a look at Zyxel Networks' company overview. Zyxel Networks has been getting businesses and home users online for over 30 years. So we are not a new player in the IT industry. We have experience and uphold a certain level of quality in the networking field. Over the course of 30 years, there are over 700,000, or actually 1 million, small to medium businesses have improved their work and service quality with our Zyxel Networks solutions. As you can see on the top of this slide, this amounts to 100 million devices sold across the globe. Last but not least, we have stepped into 150 countries in the global market. With more than 600 passionate associates, including our branches and distribution partners worldwide. We offer a comprehensive range of solutions for end-to-end network delivery. These solutions are broken into 5 major categories. Starting from the left, we have security appliances, wireless, LAN connectivity, gateway and access, and network management. The Zyxel Security Series portfolio lineup is classified into 3 categories based on their overall functions. For simplicity, we have the VPN series, which support highly secured and robust VPN feature sets for excellent multi-site connections. For flexibility, we have the USG Flex series, which consolidates multiple security and networking functions all into one single security appliance. For Ultimate, we have the ATP Firewall, which supports the cloud-based sandbox solution designed to stop emerging threats from compromising your data. So let's have a detailed look on each individual security series lineup. The VPN series is ideal for customers who mostly requires VPN applications. Compared with the other 2 series, the VPN series has better VPN performance and has more capacity for gateway-to-gateway IPsec VPN tunnels. Additionally, the VPN series also supports Zyxel's SD-WAN solutions and can be used to manage APs with built-in wireless controller. For security services, the VPN series supports only content filtering. The VPN series has 4 models: VPN 50, 100, 300, and 1000. The higher the number, the better the performance and number of possible concurrent connected devices. The ports on the VPN 50 and 100 are predefined with internal and external zones. Simply connect your PC or end device to any LAN ports while connecting your WAN port to the internet. On the other hand, the ports on the VPN 300 and 1000 are not predefined. Customers can customize their port roles depending on the type of deployment required, providing our higher-end models with more flexibility. Now let's move on to the flexibility lineup. The USG Flex series can be managed by customers using on-premises management mode or cloud management mode. While in on-premises management mode, the USG Flex can act as a wireless controller to manage site-wide APs. The USG Flex supports all features and solution sets available on the VPN series, and more. If the VPN series supports content filtering, the USG Flex supports even more security services that are useful for offices and businesses. The USG Flex series has 5 models: the USG Flex 100, 200, 500, and 700. There is also the USG Flex 100W with built-in radio to allow for Wi-Fi connections. Just like the VPN series, the higher the number, the better the performance and number of possible concurrent connected devices. The USG Flex 100, 100W, and 200 models use predefined internal and external ports, while the 500 and 700 models have fully customizable ports. Please note that the 1-year bundled security service license that comes with your hardware is optional. This 1-year security service license covers all security services and not just content filtering. Now let's move on to the next lineup. The ATP series is under the Ultimate lineup because it supports all features that the USG Flex has and more. Sandboxing and IP reputation are security services unique to the ATP series. Sandboxing can scan and remove never-before-seen malicious files, while IP reputation helps clients avoid access to malicious websites. And just like the USG Flex, the ATP series also supports cloud management mode as well as wireless controller role in on-premises mode. The higher-end ATP 500, 700, and 800 models support Device HA Pro, which has faster network recovery when the active unit fails. The ATP series has 6 models: the ATP 100, 200, 500, 700, and 800. There is also the ATP 100W with built-in radio to allow for Wi-Fi connections. Just like the VPN and USG Flex series, the higher the number on the model name, the better the performance and number of possible concurrent connected devices. The ATP 100, 100W, and 200 models uses predefined external and internal ports, while the 500 and 700 models have fully customizable ports. Please note that the ATP series comes with a 1-year Gold Security Pack license. The Gold Security Pack license covers all security services supported by the ATP. So let's summarize everything we've learned about our security product lineup. First, all our lineups support AP wireless controller when using on-premises management mode. Next, the VPN series only supports content filtering. Third, the USG Flex supports most UTM services. However, only the ATP supports advanced UTM services like IP reputation and sandboxing. We can use the table here to help our customers decide on which model is the most appropriate for their network requirements. Based on the performance of each individual security product, we have listed a recommended number of concurrent users seen on the last column on the right. You may pause this video and take your time reviewing the content of this slide. One of the main challenges in business networking is the amount of resource and know-how required for network expansion. Most networking brands acquire technologies aimed for fast network expansion. But this emphasis in expansion created shortcomings that is common in this industry. And that is the lack of consistency and integration between different product lines. Sometimes an AP's web GUI will look completely different from a switch's web GUI. This resulted in network technicians having to rely on multiple discovery and setup utilities because there is no unified way to set up and manage the network. This lack of consistency predictably translates to problems for the users. Expanding your network results in having user invest time in assigning IP addresses to dozens of network devices. They need to rely on multiple utilities or heavy network management systems like SNMP servers with expensive costs. Users will need to access every device to change the administrator passwords to prevent unauthorized access. Zyxel's answer to easy network expansion is through the Zcna utility. The Zcna utility is a unified installation tool to discover and reconfigure management settings of Zyxel devices in the local network. The Zcna utility is free to download from our official Zyxel website. Other network brands have developed their own network utility software to discover and set up their network devices. But as you can see, only Zyxel and Cisco has managed to develop a single utility software that can manage the three major network product lines, specifically the APs, switches, and gateways. By implementing the Zcna protocol on our Zyxel devices, the Zcna utility can discover and add devices in the same broadcast domain instantly. This is extremely useful for technicians that need to facilitate the deployment and initial setup of several network devices on the same day. You don't have to access each local web GUI of devices to change their configurations. Everything is done using the same Zcna utility. The Zcna utility uses a consolidated user interface. This means technicians do not have to be familiar with the web menus or directories of each product line for basic management operations. These management operations includes IP setup, batch firmware upgrade, admin password reset, and changing system name. There is also a quick link to ZAC for batch AP configurations. The Zcna utility is supported by devices using Windows OS and comes with multi-language support. Because the Zcna utility is aimed mainly for device management settings, the utility is not cluttered with settings. It's easy to use and does not require any formal training. It's also free to download from our official website. The Zcna utility is designed to scan your network for Zyxel devices. In this example, a desktop or laptop is connected to the XGS 3700-24 switch. Your PC's Zcna utility and Zyxel devices will then use the Zcna protocol to exchange information. Other devices, such as your servers and work groups, most likely does not support the Zcna protocol and won't be part of the device discovery process. The Zcna utility is designed to scan your network for Zyxel devices. In this example, a desktop or laptop is connected to the XGS 3700-24 switch. Your PC's Zcna utility and Zyxel devices will then use the Zcna protocol to exchange information. Other devices, such as your servers and work groups, most likely does not support the Zcna protocol and won't be part of the device discovery process. After scanning, the Zcna utility summarizes all the Zyxel devices connected to the network by rows. You can identify each hardware by their device type, model names, firmware version, MAC address, and current IP address. You can also choose to export the device list into an Excel file to keep a record of the devices connected in this network. With this summary, network technicians can always know which IP address to use in order to access a device's web GUI. You can check a device and click on the IP icon to reconfigure the IP address of your Zyxel device. This is extremely useful if the network does not use DHCP servers to assign device IP address. When preparing your devices for cloud management mode, it is important to set the default gateway and DNS together with the IP address so that your device can access our cloud server. As a security measure, the Zcna utility will always require the device's admin password before applying any changes. This prevents unauthorized users from using their own Zcna utility to change your device's network settings. The default administrator password is usually 1234. It is common knowledge to change this password after the initial deployment of your network devices. Instead of accessing the web GUI of each device, you can use the Zcna utility to change the admin passwords of several devices at the same time. Just check the devices on the device summary and select the key icon. As usual, you will need to input the original password first before the Zcna utility can change to the new password. The Zcna utility also supports firmware upgrade of multiple devices at the same time. The firmware upgrade icon, as seen in the photo, can be selected after checking devices of the same model. Checking devices with different models will cause the firmware upgrade icon to gray out. Once you select firmware upgrade, you can choose between online or local upgrade. Online upgrade lets your device download the firmware image directly from our cloud server. So if you select online upgrade, make sure that your device also has a valid default gateway and DNS settings. The Zcna utility also has lots of other functions to assist the network technician. You can force a device to do a fresh reboot, reset configurations back to factory default settings, turn a device's locator LED on, and even open a browser to connect to your device's web GUI. The Zcna utility can also highlight some relevant status of your devices. Your device type will show a blue upgrade icon when your Zcna utility detects that a newer firmware is available for that device. APs will show green controller icon on device type if it is currently managed by an AP controller. Some additional hints before we end this topic: make sure to select which interface or network adapter to run the Zcna protocol. When your PC is connected to the network through wired connection, make sure that the network adapter uses the Ethernet adapter. When your PC is connected to the network through wireless connection, make sure that the network adapter uses your wireless network adapter. Zyxel is a cloud-based portal used by Zyxel channel partners and our customers. This portal allows you to register and manage your devices and licenses, as well as download the latest firmware of your security product. You can use the URL portal.myzyxel.com to access our portal. If this is your first time using our Zyxel security product, you can create an account using the URL shown on the slide. From the web page, click Create Account, then fill in all the needed information and click the Create Account button. An email will be sent to your inbox afterwards. Access your inbox and look for the email sent by Zyxel. After clicking the activation URL, type your Zyxel account password and submit this by clicking the Confirm and Sign In button. The portal will prompt you to consider two-factor authentication for better security. You may skip this for now and set 2FA later. Fill in the required personal account information and click Submit. Afterwards, you should now see the main dashboard of the Zyxel portal. Now that you have an active Zyxel account, let's try registering your device. Click the device registration link from the left menu tree. Type your device MAC address and serial number and click Submit. You can verify the MAC address and serial number of your device by checking the back sticker of your security product or at the main dashboard of your device web GUI. If you manage to acquire license keys, you can activate your license by selecting the service registration link on the menu tree. Enter the license key indicated on your card or email and click Submit. Note that your license is not yet activated at this point. Now that we registered a license key on your account, it is time to link this license to one of your registered devices. Select Unlinked Licenses in the menu tree and search for the license that was just registered. Click the Link button on the rightmost column. A small pop-up will appear asking for confirmation. Check the Activate box if the service must be enabled immediately after clicking Submit. Your license should now be active and will begin counting the expiration time. If the security product is registered, we can find the firmware download link via My Devices tab. If the firewall is not registered, we can go to Firmware Download tab and search for the model that is needed. Download the firmware to your computer and manually upload it to your device via WebGUI, Zcna utility, or FTP. If trying to download the firmware via the official Zyxel website, you will be redirected to your My Zyxel portal, and the page will show the model that is searched via the official website. Managing your security product using on-premises mode will require users undergo the initial setup wizard. This topic covers all the settings required in the initial setup wizard. Connect the PC to the firewall's LAN port. After getting an IP address successfully, enter 192.168.1.1 on your web browser. After seeing the login page, enter the default credential, admin, and password 1234. As part of our extra security measure, users are required to change the password when accessing the device for the first time. The wizard begins by asking the user whether they prefer to use on-premises management or management through Nebula Control Center. For this training section, we will select on-premises mode. The next step of the wizard is to select the WAN interface settings. Please consider the encapsulation type as well as IP address assignment method. When Auto IP Address Assignment is selected, you may simply skip the next step. When IP address assignment is static, follow the IP settings stated in your Internet Service Provider's contract. When encapsulation type is PPPoE, enter the user account and password indicated in your Internet Service Provider's contract. We recommend enabling NailUp to ensure that connection will retry again in case of service interruptions on the ISP's network. After finishing the WAN setting, we can click Connection Test to check if the firewall can connect to the internet successfully. When you see the OK status, then you can click on Next. Otherwise, you can click back and edit any incorrect settings. Now that your device can access the internet, the wizard will recommend you to synchronize your device local time with our NTP server. Click the Sync Now button and click Next. This step now recommends that you register your device to our My Zyxel portal. If you have already done this in the previous settings, then simply click on Next. If not, click on the Register button. Clicking on the Register button brings you to the My Zyxel sign-in page. After you enter your username and password, the portal will direct you to the device registration and activation page. After clicking Next, your device is now registered under your account and you can review the service licenses included in your hardware. Go back to your device's local web GUI and click Refresh. The content should now show that device is registered. The next step shows you the current security services that your device can currently use. This is normally tied to the status of the security license linked to your device. The next step is the option to use wireless controller. Since we do not have to use AP controller functions, we can just choose No for now. Please note that wireless controller can always be enabled later on. The last step of the wizard recommends users to set their remote management options. You can modify the device management port and add a set of trusted hosts or IP addresses to protect the firewall from unwanted management access. Normally, we suggest changing the default device management port 443 to a different value to add an extra layer of security. This topic introduces how to configure the WAN and LAN interface settings. In this simple network topology, we need the firewall as well as connecting clients in the LAN subnet to access the internet. Clients connected under the LAN subnet must be able to automatically obtain IP addresses from the firewall. Knowing which devices must be connected to your firewall is very important. A firewall uses a fixed number of ports and different categories of interfaces. Ports refer to physical ports that we can connect different types of cables. Each Zyxel firewall comes with a set of RJ45 ports, a USB port, and an RS232 serial port. Interface, on the other hand, refers to the logical point of interaction between hardware and software. The Zyxel firewall uses software to separate the physical ports between WAN, LAN 1, LAN 2, DMZ, and OPT interfaces. The Zyxel firewall allows users to assign ports to a specific interface. These predefined interfaces include LAN 1, LAN 2, DMZ, and OPT since we are using the lower-end firewall models. By default, port 3, 4, and 5 are assigned to LAN 1 interface. This means any device connected under these 3 ports will belong to the same LAN 1 subnet. For other higher-end firewall models, we can define the port role manually, which is more flexible because we can assign more LAN interfaces when needed. As mentioned in the previous topic, we can always change the WAN interface settings after the initial setup wizard. From the interface menu, select the Ethernet tab and edit the WAN interface. We can change the IP address to static IP 1.163.110.104. Subnet is 255.255.255.0. And gateway IP is 1.163.110.1. In this example, these IP settings are decided by the location's internet service provider. From the interface menu, select the Ethernet tab and this time edit the LAN 1 interface. In practice, we use either the lowest or highest available IP address in the subnet as the IP address for your gateway's interface. So configure 10.0.0.1/24 as the LAN 1 IP address. By scrolling further down the same page, we can find the DHCP settings for LAN 1. This setting is used to provide IP address for the devices connecting under the LAN 1 subnet. We can set the start address and the pool size. Make sure that the pool size is not too small. The DNS server can be external or the firewall itself. Here, we use the public DNS server 168.95.1.1 and Google's own DNS server 8.8.8.8 As an example, if the network uses a private DNS server with private domain names, then make sure to use the IP address of that private DNS server instead. For lease time, we suggest not using infinite lease time, otherwise the DHCP pool will never release the IP for different clients. Please note that when all the IP from the DHCP pool is taken, new clients will not be able to obtain an IP address anymore. NAS are servers that provides data access to groups of clients. In this scenario, the NAS is connected under the LAN subnet of the Zyxel firewall. Since the NAS is using a private IP address, clients from the internet should not normally be able to access this server. To allow clients from the internet to access this NAS, we need to use a networking technique called NAT. By creating an NAT rule on the Zyxel firewall, clients are able to connect to the NAS or any local devices using a private IP address. So what is NAT? NAT stands for Network Address Translation. NAT allows gateways or routers to translate a private IP to a public IP address and likewise translate a public IP to a private IP address. For this scenario, we will need to use virtual server. Virtual server is a type of destination NAT that allows the router to map client traffic from the internet to specific private IP and port based on the client traffic's destination port. Given the virtual server mapping rule in the slide, the initial requests from an internet host to the NAS are sent to the firewall's WAN IP address, usually a public IP, and then forwarded to the mapped internal NAS IP. The criteria for this DNAT is the external IP is 1.163.110.104 and the port 8443 is translated to the internal IP 10.0.0.2 and port 443. In this case, clients are coming from the WAN interface, so select WAN 1 as the interface for this DNAT rule. We can create this DNAT rule by going to the NAT menu and adding a new NAT rule. Make sure to select port mapping type as virtual server. We can add the NAT rule in the previous slide here using the user-defined external and internal IP addresses. Adding a virtual server NAT rule on our firewall is not enough. By default, the Zyxel firewall allows all local clients to access the internet. However, the firewall restricts all access from the internet to local devices. Because of this, we now need to add additional rules that allows clients from the internet to access the local device. In this scenario, we want only a trusted client using the public IP 59.125.27.123 to access this private NAS. A security policy is a template of security settings that can be applied to specific traffic at specific times. When traffic matches the specific criteria listed on the security policy, the Zyxel firewall may allow, deny, or reject that particular traffic or session. Users can configure most of the security and management features in one table. To create our security policy, we first need to create an address object for the NAS and trusted client. Go to Objects and select address/JOIP in the menu tree. Add a host type object using IP 10.0.0.2 and another using IP 59.125.27.123. Next, we go to Security Policy and create a new policy and select each criteria. The source object should be the trusted host address, while the destination should be the NAS address. Make sure that this policy has action set to allow. Also, make sure that this new policy is in the top order of the priority. If outside users from the WAN wants to access internal servers, which is behind the LAN, we can add an NAT rule and security policy to allow the outside user's public IP address. However, there is another way to treat the outside user as an internal member using L2TP. The PC can establish an L2TP tunnel to the firewall, and the firewall will assign a private IP address to the PC to treat it as if it's connecting from its own local subnet. This way, the PC with L2TP tunnel can reach the internal server without any issues. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. A VPN, or Virtual Private Network, is a system that securely extends a private network across an unsecured public network, such as the Internet. It allows users to send and receive data across public networks as if their computing devices were directly connected to the private network. Traffic sent through the VPN are always encrypted. This way, hackers that are able to intercept client traffic won't be able to read the user's personal data. Here, we will introduce what L2TP VPN is. L2TP stands for Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol. It is the VPN tunnel between the outside user and the firewall. After establishing L2TP VPN tunnel, your firewall assigns an IP address to the L2TP client and treat it as an intranet member. For this scenario, the L2TP client uses the public IP address 2.2.2.2. After establishing the L2TP tunnel with the firewall, the L2TP client will get an IP address 192.168.100.10 from the firewall. So the L2TP client can communicate with the LAN subnet directly. In the first step, we will use the quick setup wizard to create our L2TP VPN rule. From the main menu, click the quick setup icon, then select the remote access VPN setup, then L2TP over IPsec client. This will pop out another window to ask you to fill in the L2TP VPN details. We have to fill in the pre-shared key and select the incoming interface. The pre-shared key will be shared with the outside user. The incoming interface indicates which interface the outside user can connect to. Checking the Allow L2TP Traffic Through WAN option forces the outside user's traffic to be sent to the firewall before accessing the internet. After we click Next, we now have to assign an IP address pool for the outside users. The default setting is 192.168.50.1 to 250. Ensure this IP address pool does not overlap with other subnets already used by the firewall. As for DNS server, we will simply use the common public DNS servers. The last step for the L2TP VPN wizard is creating L2TP users. First, we will add a user object for L2TP VPN users. After finishing the user object, move the user from the available list to the member list. After finishing the L2TP VPN wizard, the firewall will ask you to confirm all the information is correct before creating the L2TP VPN rule. We can click back to modify any incorrect settings. If all settings are correct, click Save to create the L2TP VPN rule on the firewall. After clicking the Save button, the wizard will allow you to download a file for iOS or Windows OS. This provision file will be used to quickly provision L2TP settings on the outside user's device. Running the provision file will run a PowerShell script that automatically creates a VPN profile on your computer's network settings. Here, we will introduce how to run the provision file on a Windows 10 PC. Download the Windows script from the firewall and extract the file. Choose the .ps1 file extension and right-click on the mouse. Select Run with PowerShell. For the first PowerShell command, enter A. For the second PowerShell command, enter R. Please note that the Windows provision file is supported only on Windows 10. After finish installing the script, there should be an L2TP icon via the Network Access tab. Choose the L2TP profile and enter the L2TP user credential. The L2TP tunnel should now be established successfully. Nowadays, there are a lot of threats in the internet. Sometimes an office employee will accidentally download a malicious file or unknowingly click on a phishing link. To prevent these types of attacks from the internet, we can use the firewall's security services to prevent these types of threats. Here, we will introduce 5 of our security services. The first one is anti-malware. This service is used to scan files for malicious codes. Your firewall will scan email attachments and files downloaded over HTTP or HTTPS. The second one is IP reputation. This service is used to prevent access to servers known for storing malicious content. The firewall stores a list of public IP addresses in its signature database and blocks clients from accessing these malicious websites. The third one is IPS. IPS is used to detect malicious or suspicious packets by analyzing session content. The firewall will use its
Recently,
IPS
I
signature,
discovered something
which is
interesting. Instead
updated
of building
regularly
and the
to
second one,
detect
now
if
simply
there
click on
is
File,
any abnormal
New
packet
Repo,
exchanges.
and give it a name, for
The
example,
fourth is
clone,
sandboxing.
a simple
With this
update.
function,
Superpower.
firewalls
It's
will
totally
send
free
a
for
copy of the
3,000
file
emails. It's
content
way
to a
to
virtual
admins.
machine on the
To build in
cloud when
ORM,
the
so you
file
add
content
one for
is
mobile.
unknown.
Building with AI,
The last one
you
is
tell it to build
CDR.
in a modular
CDR
structure
signature
for
is
easy
based on
updates and
IPS,
maintainability. Then
anti-malware, and URL threat filter. This function fully blocks the client device from the network and not just the client's traffic. If we want to use security services, the firewall must have licenses assigned to it in order to activate these services. Here, we can see the license status and the expiration date of each security service. If the status is inactivated, the license might not be activated on myzyxel.com or has already expired. It also lists the expiration date to remind our customers when to renew their licenses. Since new types of attacks or threats are emerging every day, we need to make sure that our firewall is using the latest signature updates. Click on Licensing in the main menu and select Signature Update. After confirming that licenses are activated and not expired, click on the cloud icon to allow the firewall to download the latest signature update from the cloud. After clicking the cloud icon, the browser will pop out another window to let you know its update status. Once updating is complete, the word will change to success, and the firewall should now be able to protect your intranet users completely. Here we have the first security service, anti-malware. Anti-malware is used to scan files in email attachments or downloads from servers. Downloading files from a public FTP server is a common operation. However, some files might be infected with viruses. This kind of malicious files might affect our intranet. For example, hackers can infect your computers with botnet scripts, allowing your computer to run zombie attacks for the hackers. So, how do we prevent the downloading of these malicious files? Well, we can use anti-malware to scan all the traffic which passes through the firewall and drop only traffic that attempts to download files containing malware. So let's see how anti-malware works. Anti-malware is used to scan the file to determine if it's infected before taking action. When the firewall receives network traffic, the firewall will scan the traffic based on the database and transmit the inspected traffic to the client. The anti-malware scanning engine relies on a database of virus signatures. This database comes from two different sources. One from Zyxel's Threat Intelligence Machine Learning, and another from Bitdefender's anti-malware database. Threat Intelligence Machine Learning is a database maintained by our cloud sandboxing. Once a threat is uncovered through our global sandbox system, the malware involved is no longer unknown and is added to our cloud database. This is the web GUI of anti-malware. We can see three options for scan mode. First is Express mode. The Zyxel device scans files by sending each file's hash value to a cloud database using Cloud Query. Next is Stream mode. The Zyxel device scans all files for viruses using anti-malware signatures to detect known virus patterns and threat intelligence machine learning. And last is Hybrid mode. This mode combines Express mode and Stream mode to offer a balance of speed and security. Please note that only the ATP series supports Hybrid mode. For complete protection, we choose Hybrid mode to destroy the infected file once it matches the virus signature. Now let's move to the second security service, which is IP reputation. We want to prevent malicious websites from infecting our intranet. However, there are a lot of malicious websites on the internet. We could, in theory, use security policy to block a list of IP address known to have malicious content. However, this would be too time-consuming and will require frequent updates. So instead, we can rely on IP reputation to automatically maintain a list of public IP addresses that prevents internet clients from accessing. So how does IP reputation works? IP reputation maintains a database of known malicious public IP addresses regularly updated from our cloud system. When the firewall receives traffic from the internet, IP reputation will scan the traffic based on the database to detect if the IP address is safe or not. The firewall will allow connections to servers using safe IP addresses, but will block connections to servers using malicious IP addresses. This is the web GUI of IP reputation. When the action is blocked, the firewall interrupts connections between the client and the malicious website once the website IP address is in the category that we chose. If your business or office requires access to a cloud server, and you want to be sure if the public IP is malicious or not, you can use the query option to check the status of your server's IP address. This will pop out a window to let you know which category your server may belong to. In case this server is essential to your service operation, you can choose to uncheck that matching category from the cyber threat list. Please note that only the ATP series supports IP reputation. The third security service that we will introduce is IPS. Some attacks, like the Trojan virus, is hidden in the packet content itself. This type of attacks can cause denial of service by consuming the hardware resource of your computers. In other cases, this attack can be used to steal personal information. So, to avoid this kind of attack, we can use IPS to check the packet content and perform actions accordingly. IPS stands for Intrusion Prevention System. It is used to detect malicious or suspicious packets and respond instantaneously. When the firewall receives the traffic from the internet, IPS will scan the traffic and reference its database to detect if the packet format matches any known attack patterns. When the pattern matches an attack, the firewall immediately terminates the session and blocks traffic from the attacker. This is the web GUI of IPS. There are two scan modes. Prevention is used to scan traffic and perform either block or reject actions to the traffic. Detection is used to scan the traffic and only write logs. We can also verify individual IPS actions for each signatures. In this example, we can search the name Trojan, and we can see from the query result below that the current action is reject. We can use anti-malware to block malicious files as long as the cloud database has a record of this. But since new malware constantly appear, there are periods where the firewall must wait until the cloud updates its malware signature database before the firewall can effectively protect your network. To close the gap where the network is vulnerable to new malware, Zyxel has developed our sandboxing solution. Sandboxing allows the firewall to destroy unknown malicious files that have not been recorded yet in the cloud signature database. Zyxel Sandbox is a cloud-based service available only for ATP series, which can detect new and unknown malware found in downloaded files or email attachments. Once the gateway detects a possible infected file, it uploads a copy of this file to the Cloud Sandbox for inspection. The Cloud Sandbox will perform analysis and classify the files into either malicious, suspicious, or clean files. The firewall allows clean files to enter the intranet. For malicious or suspicious files, the firewall can choose to destroy or allow files to enter the intranet. This is the web GUI of sandboxing. Make sure to select Destroy as the action for malicious files. Under Advanced Inspection, there is an option to inspect selected downloaded files. If checked, the firewall will keep any downloaded files using an unrecognized signature for up to 2 seconds. The firewall will wait for the Cloud Center's result and forward the file in 2 seconds. Please note that the firewall only sends the sandbox the type of files selected in the file submission options. The last security service that we will introduce is CDR. Normally, the firewall will only block the client's traffic to a specific website once it is detected by IP reputation. However, the client can still access other websites which might also be malicious websites. There will be some risk if the user keeps accessing these websites. For this kind of user, we can use CDR to block all traffic from the client and let the user know that his or her client device is under quarantine. CDR stands for Collaborative Detection and Response. It uses the signature database of IPS, anti-malware, and URL threat filter. Collaborative detection and response can be seen as an enhancement of the old UTM services. The old UTM service can only help to block IP traffic when it is detected unsafe connection one by one. However, the old UTM service is unable to completely block compromised clients from attacking other devices in the intranet. CDR is designed to recognize potential compromised clients and completely blocks all traffic from this client from accessing not just the internet, but other devices in the intranet. This is the web GUI of CDR. CDR can apply different policies between different UTM category. The policy includes settings like occurrences, duration, and containment type. Containment occurs when the firewall observes the same malware or IPS or web threat occurrences within the allocated duration. Clients in the containment list will not be able to access the internet or any other devices in the intranet. Clients will need to either wait for the containment period to expire or manually restored by the network administrator. We have introduced how to configure the AP profile in the WLAN Zcna training. If you are interested in how to set the AP profile, kindly refer to the WLAN Zcna training. For Security Zcna training, we will focus on the interface and security policy settings on the firewall. From this scenario, we can see AP is managed by the firewall, and there are 2 SSIDs. One is for employees using VLAN 10 subnet, and another one is for guests using VLAN 20 subnet. Both clients from the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 must obtain DHCP IP addresses from the firewall. Another requirement is adding a security policy that restricts the guest users from accessing employee devices. The first thing is creating VLAN interfaces for the employee and guest SSIDs. Select Interface in the menu and click on the VLAN tab. Add the VLAN 10 settings indicated on the slide. Since this is the subnet used by employee devices, the DHCP settings uses a lease time of 1 day. This time, add the VLAN 20 settings indicated on the slide. Since this is the subnet used by guest devices, the DHCP settings uses a lease time of 8 hours because guest users tend to go in and out of the establishment. If the lease time is set too long, then the DHCP pool of the guest subnet will easily run out. Next, we have to create an address object for each VLAN interface. The address type can be the interface subnet, so we can choose the VLAN interfaces we just created. Then, go to the security policy page and add a rule to block the traffic from the guest to employee. The source will be the guest VLAN object, while the destination will be the employee VLAN object. Make sure to set action to deny. Each firewall models can manage a limited number of access points. The customer can purchase the firewall based not just the firewall capacity, but also based on the AP management amount. The default number of AP your firewall can manage is 8. But by purchasing additional licenses, we can extend the amount of managed APs. The largest one is the VPN 1000, which can manage a total of 1032 access points. So how does Nebula work? When a Zyxel device that supports cloud management is installed in the network, it connects to the Nebula Cloud server through an action called Call Home. Users can then connect to NCC, or Nebula Control Center, as the central platform to manage all their network devices. Users can connect to NCC either using any web browser or through the Nebula mobile app supported by both Android and iOS devices. Because of this cloud-based network management feature, Nebula is especially suitable for places like department stores, restaurants, educational institutions, enterprises, and retail chain stores. Here we list the components that make up the Nebula solution. We have the Network Management Platform, NCC, and the network hardware, wireless APs, switches, and security gateways. The Nebula mobile app is included as an extra option. In this section, we will go through several solutions available to devices running in cloud management mode. First up, Unified Threat Management is Zyxel's solution for safeguarding your local network, sending and receiving malicious files or codes. But UTM only focuses in threats coming from or going to the internet. It does not have any preventive measures for malicious codes from spreading in the local network. Collaborative Detection and Prevention, or CDR for short, evolves the UTM solution by expanding the network protection all the way to the access perimeter. This allows your network to block or quarantine infected or compromised clients in the local network. Traditional network management requires the network technician to maintain consistent VPN settings between each VPN gateway. But with the Nebula solution, because all your devices are centrally managed by NCC, NCC can automatically configure most of the VPN settings. Gateways running in cloud mode would require at most half of the VPN setup compared to running in on-premises mode. In the last few pages of this chapter, we use some slides to highlight the benefits of Nebula in the user perspective. First, since this is a cloud platform solution, users that can access the internet can access Nebula Control Center to monitor and configure their devices anytime, anywhere. We can take advantage of the Nebula mobile app by directly receiving network failure alerts to your handheld devices in real time. The installation process of your cloud-managed hardware is designed with rapid deployment in mind. You can quickly install dozens of devices on site and have NCC manage these devices by following 4 easy steps. Step 1. Configure. Log into NCC and follow the Create Organization wizard. Step 2. Scan. Use the Nebula mobile app QR code scanner or copy and paste your device MAC address and serial number to add all your devices to the Nebula organization. Step 3. Connect. Your device is designed to connect to NCC as soon as you connect your device to your local network. Step 4. Manage. Once your device is online, you can use NCC to monitor network status as well as update or edit your network settings. Furthermore, most of NCC's network settings are site-based. That means in a site with over 100 APs that requires the same Wi-Fi settings, NCC will only require you to set the Wi-Fi settings once, and all 100 APs will receive the same identical settings. Otherwise, without NCC, you may need to access each AP and configure those Wi-Fi settings one at a time. The software maintenance of your devices has also been improved by NCC. Traditionally, the network administrator has to manage devices locally to upgrade their firmware. But with NCC's architecture, cloud-managed devices will automatically download the firmware image from our cloud servers and upgrade to the latest version. Administrators also have the option to delay or set a specific date to perform the software upgrade process to avoid network outage during working hours. That's all for the Security Zcna training. Thank you for joining our training session. Hello. Welcome to our Zyxel